morning to you, and welcome back to today's JRPG Weekly Update. I'm SuperDerek, putting the PG in JRPGs since 2013. And before we dive in, today's episode has been sponsored by SurfShark. SurfShark improves your privacy on the internet, and as an IT guy by day, I can say that there are some very good reasons to consider having a VPN right now. By now, most of us already know that Surfshark can get you around geo-blocking to get you access to different countries' Netflix libraries, but here's something that you might not know. If you live in a dorm, your university can track the websites you visit. They'll know if you're torrenting the latest release of Ubuntu, or perhaps less scrupulous content. And if your phone is connected to the company Wi-Fi at work, they can see which websites you access on your bathroom breaks. Creepy stuff, I know. An unscrupulous cable company could also throttle your Crunchyroll connection in order to push you toward their on-demand dubbed anime selection. But with Surfshark, none of the above can happen. As a pragmatic man of the 21st century, I've long given up caring about anonymous companies from across the globe tracking my browsing habits. However, the prospect of somebody that I live nearby or work with being able to snoop on my internet traffic is very unsettling. And luckily, that's exactly the sort of thing that Surfshark is really good at helping protect against. And for a limited time, you can actually get 85% off your order to Surfshark and 3 extra months for free by following the link in this video's description and entering in SuperDerek as the promo code during. So today's top headline comes to us from Square Enix. So they recently released Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered across multiple platforms to mass criticism, unfortunately. The multiplayer, it seems, is for many people a very important aspect of this game. I never got to play multiplayer of this on GameCube. It just didn't really grab me. I only ever played the single player campaign. It wasn't all that fun, but apparently if you got, a couple people playing with you, it becomes a much better experience overall. Unfortunately, that seems to be where the big sticking point is for this remaster, because the rest of the game was done decent enough. It's not terrible, not awful. It's okay. But the multiplayer, they kind of dropped the ball, it seems. So essentially the party system is pretty clunky. Only the player who's hosting the session actually gets to keep any of the progress that they make throughout the game. So if you're playing multiplayer with you and 4 other people, or 3 other people, a total of 4 people, you got to play through each level 4 times in order to be all on the same page, which really kind of sucks. DreamcastGuy has a really excellent review where he kind of goes way further in depth about where the game breaks down, and I highly recommend you check that out. I'll go ahead and link to that over there in the corner. For New Zealand and Australia, it gets a little bit worse. Apparently in that region, the multiplayer was just so bad. By the way, there was no local co-op. It's online only, and nobody was really even able to log in to actually play the game in New Zealand and Australia, unfortunately, for more than, I guess, a couple of seconds at a time from what I've read in the reports. Now, this is particularly problematic in these regions with strict laws as it relates to advertising and such. As a result, it looks like Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remaster has been pulled from the eShop in Australia and in New Zealand. It sounds like Square Enix probably preemptively did this before so that they would avoid lawsuits and such, but they've gone ahead and taken them down for the time being from the eShop, and Director Akari Ryoma has published a message and a plan for some upcoming fixes, and I think it's important that we take a look at what he's got to say. And so here's an excerpt from that.
We've received a lot of feedback from our players since the game was released and are moving to address all of the issues raised as quickly as we can, but I must apologize for the delay in making an announcement about the situation. I also make my sincerest apologies for the inconvenience caused during play. First of all, the situation where players were unable to play immediately after launch was caused by our servers going over capacity. We ran maintenance to increase that server capacity on August 29th, which has led to comparatively stable running thereafter. Going forward, we will move to address any further server issues required. We would also like to release rapid updates to address the bugs that are getting in the way of players' experience with the game and are working on the update schedule announcement below. We are also looking into making further updates in addition to those detailed below, once we have reviewed player feedback, and will make further announcements once the update content has been finalized. I must again apologize for the inconvenience caused to our customers and beg your understanding as we try to put things right. Thank you for your continued support of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition.
And then those bugs that they mentioned that were listed down below on the website, I'll go ahead and just give you a couple highlights of those real quick. Fixing the an item duplication glitch, connectivity issues, stability on mobile devices, adding the ability to skip some cutscenes. This part really caught my eye when reading that announcement though, and I really wanted to read that once more just to highlight this.
We are also looking into making further updates in addition to those detailed below, once we have reviewed player feedback, and will make further announcements once the update content has been finalized.
Now, the quote here gives me some hope for the future of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remastered Edition, that maybe Square Enix is going to address the lack of couch co-op that so many people have been so vocal about up to this point. In addition, fixing the lack of players being able to progress together during co-op. Hopefully that's something that can be addressed as well. But again, if these features are deal breakers for you, do not buy this game until you have heard that these have been addressed in future updates. I'll be covering each of those updates as they come out, when they come out here, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on when those do happen. Now moving on, we did get a new port announced here for Other Side, which is that kind of black and white horror-inspired tactical RPG. It launched earlier this year on PlayStation 4 and PC and Xbox One back in July. Well, that's been announced to be coming to Nintendo Switch, which is pretty awesome, and it's going to be launching on September 10th. Wait a minute, that's this week. This Nintendo Switch launch is also going to launch alongside some updates to other platforms, which will include some additional game mechanics, as well as a new play mode called Dream Mode, which is essentially kind of like an easy mode for the game. In release date updates, Edge of Eternity is going to be coming to consoles here just around the corner. Now, Edge of Eternity is a game that was kickstarted back in 2015, and it was released for early access back in late 2018, or like December 2018. It's an indie RPG by developer Dear Villagers, and it was recently released on beta for the game, and now they're announcing that the game's going to be launching on consoles here and on PC officially. The 1.0 coming out of beta in spring of 2021 for PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and Steam. Now, the game already has a pretty big following, and it's really awesome to see so many people are so excited for this game to be finally coming out of early access, finally coming out of beta, assuming all goes according to plan. Sometimes things happen. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. In other news, Nier Replicant's remaster was recently rated in Taiwan, which is kind of interesting. In the past, similar events have indicated that the releases are close to coming out. It's closer than we might have expected, but really, it doesn't really tell us a whole lot more than that. Also, the Grandia HD collection received a patch that addresses several bugs. The bug fixes include several visual glitches in Grandia 1, and it also addresses several stability issues that existed in Grandia 2. And because a lot of people were pestering them about it, and I would too, Gung-Ho have assured users via Twitter that all bug fixes included in this patch will be included in the limited run game's release on Switch. Also, while we're on the topic of patches, Persona 4 has a new 1.1 patch that aims at fixing the stuttering issues that were noticeable during various cutscenes, the anime cutscenes. This is something that I know has affected several users, including one of my friends, Baku, over on Twitch. And, I'll be interested in seeing if this takes care of things. Apparently, it also fixes other stability things, but the big one that was probably most noticeable was the stuttering during cutscenes. Also, SMT3 Nocturne, the HD remaster, got a new trailer this week, but I'm not going to show you what that looks like because it consists mainly of in-game cutscenes that might be considered spoilers for some people. So, if you're worried about spoilers, don't watch it. But if you aren't concerned about spoilers and just want to see some stuff, then yeah, go check out that new trailer. And since we're already on the subject of Nocturne, it should be noted that also last month they announced that there'd be some DLC for Nocturne that allows players to download Dante from Devil May Cry. Some of you might be scratching your head, why is that? Well, he was a cameo that existed in the Western release of the game. It looks like we're mainly getting the Japanese version of the game, but this is a way for you to sort of get that exclusive American content into your SMT3 remaster. Next up, The Adventure of Dai, that upcoming Dragon Quest anime, is going to be starting, and the official start air date is October 3rd of this year. So I don't know if it's being syndicated here, if we're going to see it on Crunchyroll or Funimation. I don't know, but I'm kind of hoping so. And what's kind of also really interesting is that recently I found out that The Adventure of Dai, the anime, it's not the first Adventure of Dai Dragon Quest anime. There was another one from, I think, like late 80s, early 90s. I haven't seen it, but I know, speaking of Surfshark, that if you do use Surfshark like I did, you can watch The Adventure of Dai on Netflix in Japan. It's all in Japanese, so, you know, your mileage may vary. But it's just something kind of worth noting that I recently figured out. Just hot off the presses, D3 Publisher is announcing a new title by Summon Night writer Kei Miyakozuki and Summon Night 5 developer Festelia. Feristera. That's how you pronounce it. Anyways, yeah, there's currently a countdown on a website where they, at the end, will presumably be announcing this new game. And that countdown is going to end late in the evening of the 7th or early in the morning of the 8th, depending on, you know, where you live. So there's a really good chance that this is going to be a Summon Night spiritual successor by these developers, since Bandai Namco actually owns the Summon Night intellectual property rights to these. So most likely it's not going to be another Summon Night game, unfortunately, but hey, spiritual successor is, you know, right up my alley. They seem to be pretty hot right now. So knock on wood, it'll be something good. Now, shortly before this video that you're watching right now releases, they actually do plan to release a bit more information on that website about what this game will be. Like maybe the name of the game or something. I don't have that information right now because, spoiler warning, I actually record all of these Sunday night at crazy, wild YouTube magic. Anyways, it's time for this week's JRPG Weekly Forecast. So Monday is going to be pretty much empty, but on Tuesday the 8th, RPG Maker MV, which launched on PC back in 2015, is finally making its way over to Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4. Also following that, Kingdoms of Amalur... I made this mistake before. I'm not going to do it again. Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning is going to be coming to PlayStation 4, PC, and Xbox One. Don't let nobody ever tell you I make the same mistake 7 or 8 times in a row. And then on Wednesday the 9th, The Outer Worlds Peril on Gorgon, the DLC for The Outer Worlds, is coming to PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. Later in the week, on Thursday the 10th, we'll be seeing the release of Minoria, which is coming to PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and the Nintendo Switch, followed by Wintermoor Tactics Club, which is coming to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. And then, of course, Other Side, which we talked about earlier today, which is coming to Nintendo Switch and is already on PlayStation 4, PC, and the Xbox One. Which kind of leaves us with just today's question of the week. And I feel like I've got this hypothesis, this working hypothesis of mine, and I'd like to establish that as a scientific theory if I could, and to do so I'll need your input, guys. So, anime, manga, and RPGs have gone hand in hand since the JRPG genre was born, when Akira Toriyama started making manga for Shonen Jump in order to sort of tie in with the JRPG that he had worked on with Yuji Horii and the, all of Enix at the time. So, since its inception, the JRPG genre has had this tie-in with manga and anime, and over the years, you definitely can see that anime and manga have had a huge influence on the JRPG genre, and I would even say that the JRPG genre has in turn influenced anime and manga. So, because of this close relationship, I feel like my pet theory here is that basically, if you are a big JRPG fan, it's a pretty good chance that you're also a pretty big anime fan or manga fan. And I would just kind of like to get your thoughts on that. Is that true? Are you a manga or anime fan? And if so, what's the most recent anime that you've watched and really enjoyed? I do really like anime. I actually liked anime, gosh, ever since probably like second or third grade. Basically, when Dragon Ball Z started coming out on Toonami here in the US, I was a pretty easy convert. I had seen some anime prior to that with like Speed Racer and G-Force or Gatchaman, or the early stuff that we started to see. I didn't get into the hard stuff until my sister introduced me to Ninja Scroll and Ghost in the Shell when I was like in 5th grade. But I was started off a pretty big anime fan, or a pretty little anime fan, depending on how you look at it, I guess. I don't really get to watch as much anime as I would really like to, but most recently my wife and I did actually watch through an anime series together and really enjoyed it, called Didn't I Say What Did My Abilities to Be Average in the Next Life? Speaking of anime that have big RPG influences, this one seems to really fit that bill. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. It is an isekai. It is a very funny isekai, but it's not so over the top like Konosuba was. They were both hilarious, but also to an extent, I'm just really glad that I have such a cool wife. She could watch that with me and laugh alongside. Point is, that's the last one that I really enjoyed watching, and it's not quite so over the top as Konosuba. I want to pass that back to you guys. What is your manga or anime that you've most recently enjoyed and wanted to share? And is that, do you think, related at all to your fandom of RPGs? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you like these JRPG weekly updates, again, please make sure that you're subscribed, because only about half of you guys are. So make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on when the next video comes out. I am SuperDerek, and this has all been news to me. Have a great week, everybody.